Hi guys, welcome back to 100% Mark. So hope you all stayed safe and well out there. So this is your match preview for the game against Manchester City in the third round of the Carabao Cup at St James's Park tomorrow night, 8 o'clock kickoff live on Sky Sports. Of course, after the game against Man City will be the fourth round draw. Hopefully Newcastle will be in that fourth round draw, but this is going to be a tough test now. We have had a little bit of a boost, if it is to be believed. Of course, Pep Guardiola is saying that he might have to play some kids in this game. Now, of course, we can't always believe what Pep Guardiola says because he does like to play men games and he is pretty good at them as well. So we'll have to wait until, of course, the starting 11s for both sides come out to see exactly who we are playing against. But we do know that there is one player that will not be playing for Manchester City tomorrow night, and that is Rodri, after, of course, getting his suspension in the game against Nottingham Forest at the weekend for what can only be described as literal assault on the Nottingham Forest player. So he will not be able to take part in the Carabao Cup third round draw tomorrow night, of course, at St James's Park. And this is the first time since the 2012-2013 season that Newcastle have been able to benefit from the exemption to this stage of the competition for European participants, of course, with us playing in the Champions League this season. An outcome, of course, must be achieved on the night as well for this game if scores are level after 90 minutes, and it does go to the dreaded penalty shootout as well, and the winning side will enter the fourth round, like I just said, to be staged, concluding the game, of course, against Man City tonight. A little bit of news, of course, on the Man City front. Um, like I said, Rodri will not be able to play in the game, and of course they are having quite a bit of problems as well, according to what Pep Guardiola said with the injuries. And looking at our news going into the game, of course, speaking of the media this morning, Eddie Howe confirmed the injury suffered by Harvey Barnes at the weekend against Sheffield United, of course, would sideline him for a longer period than first uh, anticipated. We're fearing it's now months than weeks, of course, Eddie said. It's an injury to his foot just below his toe, and I think it's quite a substantial injury. We've had the scans, and now we're waiting for a specialist opinion on what's next and whether there's surgery involved. Hopefully, it's not as bad as it does sound. Hopefully, Harvey Barnes can get back to action straight away forward. But we do have some cover in there. Of course, with the likes of Anthony Gordon, we've also got Joe Linton as well when he comes back from his injury to go into them positions as well. The referee for this game is going to be Chris Kavanagh, third appointment of the 2023 for Whistler from Ashington-under-Lyne, barely 5 miles away, by the way, from the Etihad Stadium. So I don't know how this guy is getting to officiate the games, but it is what it is. We'll have to do and deal with what is in front of us. So he is going to be the referee for the game. He presided over a 2-1 win at Brentford. He returned for our 2-0 loss at home to Arsenal, and both games seeing him make controversial penalty calls, of course, influenced by VAR, which isn't in operation for this tie, of course, with it not being in operation until the latter stages of this competition. Yet a referee in the Premier League this season, though Kavanagh has taken charge of just two. As for the stats going into this game, of course, this is the fifth time that Newcastle and Man City have paired in the history of the League Cup. Newcastle, of course, have won one to City's three so far. The most recent one, of course, being a 2-0 win at the Etihad in the 2014-15 season in round four, of course. The season before that was a 2-0 loss at St James's. The season, of course, all the way back in 94-95. The first leg of that was a 1-1 draw at Main Road. Then the replay was a 2-0 loss at St James's Park. And of course, the first one that started it all off back in 1975-76 was, of course, the League Cup final. Newcastle losing 2-1 in that game at Wembley against Manchester City. This is going to be a very interesting game, and of course, after this game, we do have a game against Burnley at St James's as well on the following Saturday. And then, of course, on the following Wednesday, we'll have a game against PSG at St James's. 8 o'clock kickoff on the 4th of October. That it will be our second group stage game in the Champions League this season. So, two really massive games, of course, and then that game against Burnley in there as well. Not to be disrespectful by any means to Burnley, but of course they are sandwiched between a game against Manchester City and a game against the French champions, PSG. So it's just going to be one of them ones where we're going to have to, pick our fights. But I think we will go into this game against Man City. I think we will do something in this game, and hopefully, we come out of this game as the winners, going through into the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. Then, of course, we can focus on that Burnley game. Then after that Burnley game, we can focus on the game against PSG. We know Eddie likes to focus on one game at a time. He doesn't like to jump ahead with his games. And, of course, these are going to be 3 home games as well, which that does hugely benefit with, in the fact that we do not have to travel away to play these games. It's entirely at St James's Park, so that does help the players as well be able to settle themselves ahead of the games as well. But going into this game, I think, I'm going to throw up a score prediction for this game, and I'm going to see Newcastle come away 1-0 winners. I'll take a 1-0 win against Man City at St James's. Let's get ourselves through to the 4th round of the Cup. If we don't, then, there is positives to it as well. Yes, we would be out of the Cup, which is a negative, but there's also a positive to that as well, in the fact that we'd be out of one competition, so we can focus with energy more on the Premier League, the Champions League, and the FA Cup when that comes around, which is obviously what we should be looking at doing. We should be looking at focusing on our Premier League status, getting ourselves high up into the Premier League again, finishing inside that top 5, top 4 area. Also doing well in the Champions League as well, getting as far as we possibly can in the Champions League, because it does boost our FFP and does boost the revenue coming into the club moving forward as well. So my score prediction, 1-0 against Man City in this game tomorrow night. And let's see if we can get through into the 4th round. If not, then hey-ho, we'll go again in the Premier League on Saturday. Till next time, remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm on the road to 2k subscribers, so if we can get there pretty soon, that would be fantastic. And I'll see you all in the next one. How are the lads?